Hi, my name is Stacy, and this is Practical ESL. So today we're going to talk about something that I feel like, there's tons of information all over the internet. And I feel like this is an old school kind of thing that everybody knows about. But as I travel around and look at different classrooms, I'm just not seeing a lot of this. But I really believe this is key to our students understanding what we teach and remembering. So don't kill the messenger, but this is going to be bringing it up a little training on using anchor charts. So if you don't know what an anchor chart is, we're going to start with that. What is an anchor chart? So here are some little examples of anchor charts, and some of these are quite full of information. An anchor chart is a tool used to support instruction, and it anchors the learning for the students. So the idea is, like, nowadays, everything is on a big screen that we show our students, and then we expect them to remember everything. I'm not sure about your district, but in my district, kids don't have homework anymore, and kids don't bring paper with them to school. And the other thing that they do, they don't write notes and they don't go back and look at their notes. So if you talk about something that they learned yesterday, what is going to help them remember that? It's going to be the anchor chart that you have on your wall. It could be for geometry, and it shows the labeling of all of those pieces of your whatever it is that you're using there. It could be cause and effect, and showing them what cause and effect means for your literature. It could be figurative language, because they're going to forget those words and the meanings of those words. But this anchor chart is going to anchor that information on your wall throughout that whole unit. And every time that you teach, you're going to refer to that for them. It could be something like this, that you actually take a picture of what you put on your whiteboard. And I don't know if anybody uses a whiteboard anymore, but if you went to all the trouble to write it out, you could take a picture of that, and then you could put that up on your wall again to anchor that learning for your students. And so anchor charts allow you to keep that information up as long as your students need it. And really, they have to have it there for a while, because that repetition is what's going to help them remember and be able to use that information later on. So here's an example of how you could just screenshot what you put on there and then make that the poster that you put on your wall. What should an anchor chart include? I would say only the most important information should be on your anchor chart. So if we have an anchor chart like this, a lot of places, when I go around to the classrooms, a lot of science classes, they have something that looks like this. And this is too small for the kids to be able to read. They're not going to be able to really understand. If these were blown up and shown differently, like, you want to definitely have pictures, and you want to have examples, but you can't have too much on one chart. So I would say this is not your best example. But this one, if you were looking at light and then you show the different, like what light does, then this could be a good way to show that. How do I use an anchor chart? We'll only put up what you're going to use often during that unit. So you don't want to just cover your walls with a bunch of information. You want the most important information and the things that you specifically want your students to remember. So if it's your characteristics of a virus, or water landforms, and you're going to keep referring to these every time that you use them, and you're going to keep them up long enough for your students to remember and use that information. Tips for using anchor charts. Number one, if students don't look at them when it's gone, it didn't work, because an anchor chart, it really anchors in their mind. And visual students, that this really supports your visual students and all of your language learners, but they are going to look there every time you point there during the lesson. And when you take it down and you ask them a question, they're still going to look at that place on the wall, and they're going to remember that picture in their head. The laser pointers are really great for this. I always had my lanyard and then I would have my laser pointer at the end of that. And then I would point to that place on the anchor chart where I wanted them to remember. And it was great because my anchor chart could be any place in the room and I could point to it with that laser. Refer to anchor charts often. If you don't refer to them, if you don't use them in your teaching, then they're useless. There's no reason to put them up. Your kids are not going to look there on their own, but if you draw their attention to that every time you cover that topic, and if you ask a question like light, let's take light, and I say, so what does light do? And then you're going to say, remember, it's on the anchor chart. And then somebody's going to say, it refracts, or whatever it is, that it can reflect, it can refract, it can, all of those things. And so you're going to use that anchor chart and refer to that anchor chart. And that is when the anchor chart will be successful. So I hope this is helpful for you. I really believe in anchor charts. I had anchor charts all over my wall. I use them for every unit, and my kids, they always look there when I take them down. So I hope that this is helpful, and I thank you for joining us today, and I will see you next time. All right, thanks.